Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Treisman, clinical psychologist, author and trainer. I just wanted to spend a few minutes to talk about organisational culture, previous and in the context of the pandemic and after, and a little bit within that about staff regulation and staff wellbeing. And I guess there's so many different things that have been whirling around my mind at the moment, but a few that have been reflections that have really come to the forefront in the past few weeks. And I guess I really wanted to start with thinking about what is your organisational culture? What is its personality, its spirit, its energy? What are the core values and principles? What messages do we want people to feel and to experience during this time about them, about the work, about the values, about society? And not just how to feel now, and there's amazing possibilities for really enhancing how people feel and the connections within that, but how will people feel when they return to work? What will be their relationship to that organisation? How will they feel about returning to that organisation, about how that organisation treated them, responded to them, how that organisation modelled the model? There is the Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you do and they will forget what you say, but my goodness, they will remember how you make them feel. This is an opportunity to really support people to feel treasured, noticed, held, contained, that every interaction is an intervention. I have had meetings and consultations and the variety is enormous, and I'm sure it oscillates between the different ways. I have had people who have felt more loved, supported, connected in unity than ever before. Some examples that have just been beautiful and moving and powerful and brought me to tears. And there's been on the other end of the spectrum people who have told me that they have not been told thank you, please, hello, that they've not felt held in mind, cared about, connected, that they've not been asked how they are, that they've not felt important or valued, that their well-being or their feelings have been invalidated or not, certainly not acknowledged on a wider scale. Those feelings and those experiences will create ripples. It's so important that we think about how we are supporting people to feel. What are those responses? How are we taking the values and not just collecting dust on a shelf, but embodying, infusing, and really expanding on them, anchoring onto them? What's also been so interesting is organisational culture before this. What this is doing for many organisations, and of course there's variety, is bringing the organisational culture and climate, some of the fragility or strengths, or both, to the surface, to the forefront. It's bringing about those differences, those disparities, those dynamics, or those connections. For those organisations who have already created a solid foundation, who have already taken many steps on their journey to be more humanising, relational, more trauma-informed. By that I mean the values from transparency, co-production, relationship-focused practice, strengths-based practice, adversarial growth, trust, transparency, collaboration, thinking about cultural humility and so forth. For those who had already started on that journey, that is giving a huge thing to anchor upon. We're seeing lots of that hard work and intentional effort really show the fruits of its labour. And for those who hadn't done that, for those who perhaps are more trauma inducing instead of trauma reducing, who as an organisation is unhealthy, is traumatised, is traumatising, is trauma soaked. We're seeing a lot of those cracks come about because they don't necessarily have those same protective factors, the same glue. And to me, there's lots of things within that. It's validating and acknowledging for those organisations who have done the work. It is, I hope, motivation and plea for those who didn't to now think about it, do it, invest in your greatest treasures. Create an organisation that is as strong as possible. But it's also helping us really honour those differences. People are talking about, let's do a module or a curriculum about what to do when we come back for our school, for our charity, for our service, for our prison. And that's a fantastic thing to be thinking, but we cannot lose sight of the organisational culture within that. We cannot lose sight of the context where that organisation is situated, the history of that place, all of those different factors, but to me, hugely, where they are at their journey. If people already have put so much in place around emotional literacy, around well-being, around relationships, around trauma-informed practice, they're going to be further ahead in the journey. They've got more to anchor to. They're going to be able to do things because the pieces in the puzzle fit together. For other organisations who are not there, what works for those ones who are a bit further down the line will not work or won't resonate or won't be meaningful for those other ones. So we need to be really careful to take stock, to take a temperature check, to think about where were we, where are we, where do we want to go? How can we really think about those feelings? Because what we do now is going to make a huge difference to how people remember the organisation, how people feel about it, what people's investment to the work and relationship will be during and afterwards. Crucial that we think about that. Well-being, wellness, organisational culture should not be seen as an add-on, as a bolt-on, as a luxury. It is essential, and everything else exists on fragile ground. It is the springboard for change. It is the bedrock. And on that, before I leave you, there is a quote from the Wellness Project in Kenya that says, well-being leads to well-doing. Well-being leads to well-doing. So let's really think about what we can do for ourselves and for others, but how we can use this opportunity to mobilise change, but to also celebrate what we do have, where we have come, and to think about what we want our organisation to represent, how we want people to describe it, and what messages and feelings do we want to create. I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much.